All right, welcome back to another math lesson. And go ahead and open up your notebook if you haven't already. And we're going to put today's lesson heading on the top as well as today's date. And today's lesson is going to be, oh, hang on, let me get this situated first. Sorry about that. It's going to be solve for n and subtract across 0. So 2 lessons we're combining today into one, okay? I'm going to start with some directions, steps for solving, steps for finding n. And I know there's a couple different ways you can use to solve these problems and to find what n equals. And that's what the beauty about math is. There's never really just one way to solve things, okay? But for purposes of not confusing everybody in the class and having people do things different ways, I'm just going to use one way. And if you can become really good at this one way, you'll get the question right every single time, okay? So I'm going to focus on one way, even though, like I said, there are more than one way to do this. There's more than one way to do this. Okay. So basically, this one always works, which is why I like to use it. First, you're going to cross multiply the numbers that are given to you. And then next, you're going to divide to find what n equals. Pretty simple steps here, right? Okay, so let's see. All right, so an example of this would be if I had n over 5 equals 8 over 10. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here for you. N over 5 equals 8 over 10. Now some of you guys are saying, oh, I know what that is right away because I know 5 times 2 equals 10. So what times 2 equals 8? Great, that's one way to solve it, but that way is not going to work every single time, which is why I'm not going to use it for this lesson focus, okay? I'm going to focus on what I know is going to work every single time because the next example I give you isn't going to work that way, but it will always work if you use these 2 steps up here. Okay, so I'm going to do a little cross multiplying. What 2 numbers do I know that are across from each other? Well, I know the 8 and the 5, and I don't know this, so I can't multiply by that 10 by anything yet. Okay, so I cross multiply. What's 8 times 5 is 40. And then I need to divide. I need to divide by that extra guy who's hanging out here. He wants to join the fun. Okay, so 40 divided by 10, and I'm showing my work so that you guys see what's happening in my brain, what I'm thinking. Just like I want to see on your homework. I want to see what your brain is thinking. Show me some work of some sort, okay? 40 divided by 10 equals 4. So my final answer is n equals 4. Okay, let's do one more example. 4/8 equals 6 over n. See, now if you thought in the last example, oh, 5 times 2 equals 10, so I know 4 times 2 equals 8, n is 4. Well, that's not going to work for this problem. That's why you need to be able to know how to do it this way as well. Okay? Move this down a little bit. Sorry, I know this gets real kind of shaky on your screen. I'm not trying to make you guys math sick with this notes. Okay, so let's do the same thing with this problem. Let's figure out what n is. Okay, I need to cross multiply the numbers that I know. What are the 2 numbers that I know that are across from each other? That's 8 and 6, and it's not always going to be the same diagonal direction. It just happens to work out for these 2 examples. Always multiply the numbers that you're given that are across from each other, though. Okay, 8 times 6 is 48. 48, we need to divide by him. He wants to join in the fun. He wants to join the party. So 48 divided by 4. And because we all know our basic multiplication facts really well, we know that 48 divided by 4 is 12. So my final answer is n equals 12. Do you have to put n equals 12 or n equals 4? Yes, you do. I need to know that you are absolutely aware of what you're trying to solve for. Okay? So make sure these are your final answers. This is what your final answer looks like. Okay? All right, I'm going to move on to the next kind of mini section in our notes here. You know what? Let's do one more example, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. One where maybe the diagonal isn't the same as the other two. Okay, so bear with me, sorry. Let's do one more to make sure that we're ready here. Let's go with 2/3. Nope, here, and I just said we're not going to do it that way, and that's how I started it. Let's go with 10 over n equals 5/9. Okay, let's go ahead. I'm going to speed this up. Why don't you go ahead and pause the video, solve this problem on your own, resume the video when you're ready to check your answer. All right, let's go ahead and check your answer here. So I'm going to cross multiply the numbers that I'm given that I know there, and that is 10 and 9. 10 times 9 is... 10 times 9 is, you got it, 10 times 9 is 90. I'm going to go ahead and write that. I'm just going to keep it simple, and I'm going to write it over here just because that's where I wrote the other ones, and just keeping it organized. All right, and then I'm going to divide by that other guy over there. Now 5 wants to join the fun, so we have to divide to let him in. So 90 divided by 5. You guys probably had a little bit of trouble with this one. This is a little bit more challenging problem. But if you weren't sure how to do that, how can you figure it out? Let's divide it out over here. 5 goes into 9 how many times? 1. 1 times 5 is 5. Subtract 4, bring down your 0. 5 goes into 40 8 times. 8 times 5 is 40. Subtract 0. So my answer would be 90 divided by 5 is 18. Final answer, n equals 18. So if you got n equals 18 and you did it all on your own, awesome job. Very, very good job. That was a little tougher problem. Okay, now we're going to move on to the next section, which is subtracting across zeros. I noticed a lot of you guys had a little difficulty on this in the pre-test, so that's why we're just reviewing it. So if you're a master and a professional at it, great. Now's your time to shine, to show off your skills. All right. Let's go ahead and put a little new mini title here. Subtracting with 0. Okay, my example, of course, because we always do examples. Let's go with 305 minus 149. 305 minus 149. Okay, so 5 minus 9 is 4. Hopefully all of you guys just caught my mistake there. Can I do 5 minus 9? No, I cannot. So 5 minus 9 I can't do. I need to borrow. Is there anything here that I can borrow from? Absolutely not. So we need to go to the next number. And please do this in the order that I'm showing you, because if you go out of order, that's where a lot of people make their mistakes. Check here first. Nobody's home. Okay, let's go to the next house. 3. Okay, I can definitely borrow something from the 3. So let's do that. The 3 becomes a 2. Okay, and that makes that 0 become a 10. This is the step that people forget. Make sure you make that 0 a 10 first. Now, can the 5 borrow from the next door neighbor there? Absolutely. So that 10 becomes 9, and 5 becomes 15. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. 15 minus 9 is 6. 9 minus 4 is 5. 2 minus 1 is 1. Very good. Okay, I'm going to put up another example, and I want you to solve this one on your own. So once you write it out, pause the video and check your work. 2020 minus 1946. Please pause the video, solve this, and check your answer. All right, let's check your answer here. 0 minus 6 is 6. It is not 6. You can't take 0 minus 6. So let's go ahead and borrow from the neighbor. And there's somebody home there, so we can make that 2 become a 1, which makes this 0 a 10. Now I can subtract. What's 10 minus 6? Hopefully you all have this, which is 4. 1 minus 4 is, man, can't do that, so I need to borrow. Borrow from the 0, can't do it, nobody's home, can't borrow from them. So the 0 needs to borrow from their neighbor. Okay, so 2 becomes 1. Please make sure you're showing every step here. 0 becomes 10. Now this 1 can borrow. 10 becomes 9, and that becomes 11. So now I have 11 minus 4 equals 7. I have 9 minus 9 equals 0. 1 minus 1 equals 0. So if you put those zeros, it is definitely not wrong, but you just don't need them. So I'm going to leave them off or write them really lightly. Okay, I'm going to do one more example with subtracting across zeros for you to try, and this is going to be a little trickier than the last two. Okay, so let's see what you can do with this. Take it step by step. Minus 3,285. Go ahead, pause the video, solve it, and resume the video when you are ready to check your answers. Okay, let's check your answer. All right, so 0 minus 5. Hopefully by now we know that I'm tricking you and you can't do that, so we need to borrow. Oh, can't borrow there. Nobody's home, so this guy needs to see if his neighbor's home. Nobody's home there. This guy is going to ask his neighbor, 5. 5. Finally, we can borrow from that guy. So 5 becomes 4. This one becomes a 10. Now this 0 can borrow from this 10. Cross them out, becomes 9. This guy becomes 10. Now this first 0 in the ones place value can borrow from the 10. That becomes 9, and he becomes 10. It is so important that you take this step by step because that's where you're going to get the wrong answers. If you don't take the extra, 10 seconds it takes to solve this correctly, like this step by step, then your answer is going to be wrong. So just take that extra few seconds and make sure you're doing this correctly. 10 minus 5 is 5. 9 minus 8 is 1. 9 minus 2, 7. 4 minus 3, 1. So if you got 1,715 is your final answer without any help and you got it all correct, give yourself a coffee shop applause and a little pat on the back. All right, excellent. I'm going to do one more example of the subtracting across zeros if you'd like to do one more. If you feel like you are a professional and you are ready for your homework assignment, please raise your hand. The teacher will check your notes over and give you your homework assignment. So for those of you that want to do one more example, let's do it. We're going to do it kind of super speed here, okay? $4,003 minus $1,599. Okay, pause the video, solve that, turn it back on when you're ready to check your answer. Okay, let's check your answer. And I'm going to go pretty quickly here so this lesson doesn't take the whole period for you. Okay, so 3 minus 9. Hopefully nobody put 6 because you can't do that. Can we borrow from the 0? No, that guy needs to check with his neighbor. Nobody's home there. So now this guy's going to check with his neighbor, finally. Okay, 4 becomes 3. That becomes 10. Now this 0 can borrow from the 10. So that's going to become 9. That guy becomes 10. Now 3 can borrow from that 10. 9 and 13. 13 minus 9 is 4. 9 minus 9 is 0. 9 minus 5 is 4. 3 minus 1 is 2. So you are a rock star if you got 2,404 on your own without any help, and you decided to do an extra practice problem that calls for a double coffee shop applause, twice as long, and 2 pats on the back. Excellent. Okay, you guys can turn this video off, raise your hand, the teacher will check your notes and give you your homework assignment.